Happy Saturday, and welcome to an all new episode of Trump Trolls Trump. You know, the show where someone with a certain last name mercilessly, relentlessly, and absolutely legitimately ridicules and mocks another person who just happens to have the audacity to use my name. Anyway, I, as always, will leave it to you to decide who is who. It has now been, for those counting, 208 days since America entered its Renaissance period. Yes, the true golden age is in full swing. Evidence of this is everywhere. We are so tired of winning that I can barely get out of bed in the morning. I imagine you too are tired of winning. Yes, we are taking a look back at week 29. And to celebrate that fact, does anybody remember Baby JD Vance? There was a meme in which Vance was portrayed as a very round looking baby. And not to be honest with you, the first time I saw it, I thought it was just a picture of him. But apparently, it was supposed to be him as a round infant, and he hated it. And to make life even better, Baby JD Vance, the meme, is back. Recently, the vice president, because sadly that's what JD Vance is, took his 7th vacation since assuming office in January. Yes, his 7th vacation. How many of you have ever had 7 vacations in 8 months? How many of you have ever had 7 vacations at all? For this one, because, said the 7th vacation in the same year is a big milestone. He took his family to England, but things didn't go as planned. As you may remember, wherever Vance goes, he gets booed. He can go to Iceland and get booed by polar bears and moose and puffins, for God's sakes. He also gets protested, and sometimes he gets outright boycotted. This time was no different because, pretty much like everybody else in the Trump regime, JD Vance cannot learn. The Daily Beast is reporting that when Vance and his family made reservations to dine at a very fancy steakhouse in Charlbury, Oxfordshire, the staff threatened to walk out and told management that if the reservations were honored, they would not show up to work. Only weeks after Kamala Harris had been graciously accepted at the same restaurant, the Vances had to go elsewhere. But there's more, because there always is with these people. Charlbury even held a protest called the Dance Against Vance. According to the report, it was punctuated by placards dubbing him a war criminal and images of a meme that shows a bald and baby-faced Vance with rosy, swollen cheeks, unquote, to make matters worse for Baby JD Vance. There was even a truck escorting his entourage around the village all week long. That is chef's kiss. That is hysterical, but it's really horrifying. Just remember, though, Baby JD Vance is a serious person. Speaking of serious people, White House resident Nazi Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, yeah, that thing is married. Can you imagine? She has a podcast now. I guess that means she's all grown up. It's not just a fluffy podcast. No, there's substance here. There is substance. She knows how to get to the heart of an issue. She knows how to ask real questions, hard questions that are designed to make politicians squirm because serious issues are at stake here. Her guest this week was the aforementioned Baby JD Vance. And it was during this really hard-hitting interview in which no punches were pulled that we learned something not just about Baby JD Vance, but about Katie Miller's own husband, the sadist and fascist Steve Miller. So let's take a look. I don't want to overwhelm you because it's pretty heavy stuff. Let's take a look at a small section of this powerhouse interview with a powerhouse interviewee, Baby JD Vance.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, absolutely. Is that a question?
Yeah, it's a question.
Definitely not.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Of course not. No.
If you could only eat one condiment for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One condiment?
Yeah.
Does barbecue sauce count?
Yeah.
Okay, barbecue sauce.
Not mayonnaise?
No. No, mayonnaise is like, in low doses is good, but it's kind of, like I had a buddy who used to eat french fries with mayonnaise. I thought that was disgusting.
It's the only thing my husband eats.
With french fries or like period?
Period.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize.
He's only a mayonnaise guy.
Okay. I learned something about Steven I didn't know.
Yeah, it's whatever.
I think I'm smelling burnt toast. Did I have a stroke? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think that did happen. I hope I'm not hallucinating, or I certainly hope I didn't have a stroke, but it kind of makes sense, right? It tracks that little Nazi Stephen Miller would only like mayonnaise because he does, quite frankly, look like a glob of whipped up raw egg whites. So good for him. Also, it never ceases to amaze me to say that woman is married to an actual Nazi. She must be so proud. And also, congratulations on the show. Fox Day TV host and noted box wine enthusiast, allegedly, former Judge Jeanine Pirro, I can't believe she was ever allowed to call herself that, jumped from the propaganda network to federal power because that's how it works in the Trump regime. She is now Donald's top prosecutor in D.C., which is something that happened earlier this month. This has basically a move that many experts have described as, what's the word I'm looking for? I wish I could find page 11, but since I can, I'm just going to spitball here and say that it's completely ludicrous. Pirro stood next to Donald just before the DC takeover and commented about all the young punks in the city and said that they, meaning the regime, will not take it anymore because nothing says even-handed justice like a camera-ready crackdown. Not only that, apparently Pirro is sick and tired of hearing that the crime rates are down. Why should that matter? You know what else doesn't matter to Pirro? And this is how you know that she is exactly where she belongs. Facts. Take a look at this.
I am, I'm not going to bore you with the facts. Don't quote me on that. That was off the record.
Moving on, because I literally don't know what to say right now. The Secretary of Defense, that really, really thirsty guy, get him some water, Pete Hegseth, says this is all what the American people want. Yes. According to him, we deserve our democratic cities to be overrun with federal agents. We want martial law. We want people to be disappeared without any rights to due process. I mean, it was on my ballot. Wasn't it on yours? Here he is on Fox Day TV just after the announcement was made.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us tonight. So the president called this a public safety emergency, and you said we're going to start seeing the National Guard this week. Mm-hmm. Tell us more.
This week and in coming weeks, and we're going to work right alongside our law enforcement partners as force multipliers. This is what the American people voted for, Laura.
Yes, this is what the American people voted for. No, it's not, idiot. I've rarely seen somebody who looks as stupid as they are. It's pretty impressive, actually. But no, the American people did not vote for this. We did not vote for some people to be completely above the law and others to be completely overrun by it. Speaking of which, Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General, best known for killing a fraud probe of Donald after his charity cutter check. I don't know if you remember this, but his university, in quotes, was under investigation, and she decided not to pursue that. Then suddenly, like magic, she was promoted to become America's top law enforcer. Yes, Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the Department of Justice, the department that no longer has any justice. She had some things to say. Sure, she could release the Epstein files, but the American people didn't vote for that, right? She did say they were on her desk for review, if I remember correctly. I think I could be wrong, but I think that's a metaphor for they are not on her desk for review. I'm sure that the files are going to come out any day now because Pamela Bondi will be known in history as being synonymous with the word justice, which over the course of the next 3.5 years will in itself become a synonym for lawlessness. So let's check in with that top law and order official, shall we?
I can't confirm or deny whether we have a grand jury, an open investigation on anyone, but the weaponization of our government has ended. And Tulsi Gabbard, John Radcliffe, Kash Patel, they're doing a great job. And no one in this country is above the law.
How do you say, like, she must take acting lessons because how in the world do you say that with a straight face given who your boss is? Yes, the crickets were completely appropriate because we didn't get any answers to anything there. Speaking of those operating outside the law who never get their due, Donald, that champion of the arts, the man who has a treasure trove of knowledge about all things cultural in that ridiculous head of his, took over the Kennedy Center and replaced the board of trustees with a bunch of his cronies and hacks, while installing himself as chairman and overhauling the center's programming, swapping world-class arts for culture war bullshit. The reason, stated, is to defeat wokeism, the scourge that threatens the very fabric of our society. Well, no, actually, wokeism just means open-mindedness and tolerance. Really, the scourge that threatens the very fabric of our society is Donald and his thugs who are going after institutions like the once storied Kennedy Center. I think there's another reason for this takeover, however. You might know this about Donald. He likes to, I was going to say win things, but he's incapable of winning anything. So he likes to collect trophies he can't earn. Take a look.
The Kennedy Center honors have been among the most prestigious awards in the performing arts. I wanted one. I was never able to get one. This year, it's true, actually. I would have taken it if they would have called me. I waited and waited and waited, and I said, the hell with it. I'll become chairman. And I'll give myself an honor. Maybe I'm going to honor, next year we'll honor Trump, okay?
And he'll do it. And it will mean so much to him. Speaking of overlooked talent and unsung heroes, Senator Foghorn Leghorn was back in the news this week. Oh, I'm very sorry. Some of you may not know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, who is always good for some homespun wisdom. Yes, the guy who literally has 3 advanced degrees, 1 from Oxford University. This week, he was railing against cancel culture of all things.
It's not the defining characteristic of this crew. The defining characteristic of this crew, Sean, is contempt. To be a member of their club, you have to have contempt for America. Not gratitude, as you should, contempt. You have to believe that America was wicked when it was founded, and that it's more wicked today. You have to believe that America is racist and sexist and unjust. That's why they all hate George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson and Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potatohead.
I mean, I'm not a historian by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm fairly well versed in American history. I did not know that Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potatohead were founding fathers. Shit. Anyway, what's fascinating about what that guy just said there, he's completely right. America is horribly racist and sexist. It was founded on the backs and with the blood of enslaved people. And after the genocide of the native population, we've done nothing to make up for any of those things, let alone atone for them. So yes, America, under a fascist regime, yeah, I'd say that we're in pretty dark waters right now. And I have a lot of contempt for much of what's going on. And I have even more for people like that. Yes, Senator Foghorn Leghorn is talking about the left and it's engaging in cancel culture. Well, as far as I am aware, it is not us canceling the arts, healthcare, scientific research, the Department of Education, disability rights, public broadcasting, and our constitutional rights. No, that would be him and the other people in his fascist party. Also, I actually really love Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head, so fuck off. There's more, though. While we're talking about canceling things, the Trump regime plans to shut down NASA's 2 orbiting carbon observatory missions, cutting off vital CO2 and crop growth data for scientists, policymakers, and farmers. Oh, who needs data? The 2026 budget includes no funding, with NASA citing beyond prime mission status and alignment with the only thing that matters in the universe, Donald's agenda. Now, let's see if we can think of any reasons why they would want to stop collecting data about CO2 and crops. Well, remember back during COVID, it was sort of at the beginning of COVID, actually, maybe May, June of 2020. Donald suggested that the only reason the number of COVID cases was so high was because we were doing too much COVID testing. In other words, by trying to find out how many COVID cases there were and discovering there were a lot of COVID cases, we were somehow tricking people into thinking there were a lot of COVID cases. The same thing applies here. We don't want to know about bad things. We just don't. So, if we are measuring how much CO2 there is in the atmosphere, we kind of have to do something about it, don't we? But in the Trump regime, whatever you don't know can hurt you, right? We are going to close our eyes and just trust whatever these little fascists have to tell us. According to EPA Director Lee Zeldin, carbon dioxide has been getting a bad rap for far too long. What? Is that a thing? Anyway, let's see if we can figure that out by watching this.
Now, they'll say that carbon dioxide endangers public health. The carbon dioxide is a pollutant, and they'll never talk about anything that is good or important about it. Now, they'll respond and say, well, let's just lock the administrator up.
How do we know that carbon dioxide endangers public health, individual health, my health, and your health?
That's a great question, Larry.
Know that?
They never studied it individually.
How do we know? Well, because of catastrophic climate change, and maybe because every single legitimate climate scientist has told us. I'm pretty sure that's how so we're neat because we don't talk about what are the good things about carbon dioxide. I mean, plants need carbon dioxide is very, very, very important. Absolutely. It's a wonderful thing. But ever hear the expression, too much of a good thing? I mean, I'm pretty sure that none of us wants too much sun. Sun is very good for us. It's got vitamin D. It makes you feel better. You sit out in the sun too long, terrible things are going to happen to you. But nobody ever talks about how good the sun is. I have to apologize. I never thought I would to Pete Hegseth. There was actually somebody on this planet who somehow has figured out how to walk, despite the fact he is as stupid as he looks. But it is fascinating. Yep, nobody's ever talking about rising seas, deadly heat waves, crop failures, mass extinctions, water scarcity, stronger storms, melting ice, and displacement of hundreds of millions of people. Nope. I just made all that stuff up. I hope you were taking notes, because nobody is ever going to mention it again. Go CO2. Before we get to our final segment, thank you for watching this week's edition of Trump Trolls Trump. And if you haven't already, please like and share this video and share our message with your friends and, just for me, your enemies. Also, it'd be amazing if you could subscribe to the channel. I would like to end on a positive note. Those are so few and far between that I think it's only fair that we do that whenever we can. A Democratic representative, James Talarico, went on Fox TV this week to debate host Will Cain over the Republicans' plan to redistrict Texas in order to give Donald 5 more House seats and, in effect, increase his chances of retaining the House of Representatives in the midterms next year. But the debate ended when Cain, who was, I think this is unconscionable, quite frankly. Talarico made him face facts. That's unfair. So Cain had to tap out due to time constraints. And we just cannot stop laughing about it. Check it out.
You gave the ball game analogy. In my view, what has happened here is you've done something in certain states and you don't like it when it's done in Republican states. And now you're saying you've done the same thing as us. You've done the same thing as us, and we are going to, by the way, if you do it, we're going to ratchet it up even more, in the words of Gavin Newsom.
My party has never gerrymandered in the middle of the decade at the request of the President of the United States, nor would we. The only way this is going to happen in blue states is if Texas executes this power grab. You mentioned Massachusetts. Right. Do you know the party of the governor that signed that map into law? He was a Republican. It was a Republican governor that signed that map into law. So I just want to be clear with our facts, and I don't want to muddy the waters. All of us, whether we're Democrats, independents, or Republicans, we should stand up to politicians who don't want to face accountability at the ballot box. That's exactly what's happening here. And I asked you, if Republican policies are popular, why do they need to redraw these maps? Why can't they just run on their policies?
I'm getting wrapped on time. I'm enjoying this conversation. I want to let it go on, and I apologize. That's such is the nature of cable television.
I'm enjoying this conversation so much that I'm going to end it immediately. Actually, we're out of time too. Yep, so sorry. We've got to end the show now. But here are some of the many, many, many other subjects we could have covered in this episode. U.S. Senator and former MMA fighter, Mark Wade Mullen, is so afraid of carjackings in the District of Columbia, where he works and likely has a residence, he refuses to wear a seatbelt while driving his Jeep. So, not only is he breaking the law, he's a total wimp. White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro made more ridiculous claims that tariffs are not tax hikes, but tax cuts, which is the opposite of the truth. But Navarro is the opposite of a smart person. Vile Islamophobe and propagandist Laura Loomer and Marjorie Greene, sort of member of Congress, escalated a public feud on Twitter with language that's basically too obscene even for us. Finally, Donald, you better give yourself that Kennedy honor now, because I think you're running out of time. I'm sorry to break it to you, buddy, but you are way down in the polls that week. See, we ended on a high note. Cool. There's so much more we did not have time to get to. But the beautiful thing, perhaps the only good thing about the Trump regime, is they never, ever stop giving us things to mock, because they are the worst. Thank you so much for being here. As always, we will be back next week for another episode of Trump Trolls Trump. See ya. Please take a second and like and share this video. Be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.